everyone. Kate here to kind of discuss how I read as many books as I do. So I kind of want to have a bit of a caveat at the beginning. This video is not here to make anyone feel like they should be reading more or less than they already do. This video is here because of a few conversations I've had with people asking, how do you read as much as you do? It's here if you want this. If you are genuinely wanting to be reading more than you are, then welcome. Sit down, let's have a discussion. But if you're content with the amount of books that you are reading, don't feel at all like this is a judgment on you. I think that sometimes when there are videos that go up, enthusiastic wrap-ups, that some other readers can take it as a judgment on themselves, saying that you aren't reading enough because you haven't read as much as me. And that's not at all, I think, what people are saying. I think they're just excited about the books that they have read and they want to talk about them and share their enthusiasm. I've kind of seen a bit of a pendulum swing reaction in the bookish community against people reading what they consider to be a good amount of books. And people who read more slowly feeling kind of this judgment against them when other people read more than they do. And so, I'll hear kind of, I'll hear kind of passing judgments in videos like, oh, all these people doing readathons and, racing through books, and I don't think they actually digest it. And what they mean is, I don't believe that anyone could read differently than I do. And I even saw a post that someone put here on YouTube where they said, do you believe booktubers when they say that they read 8 books a month? Basically implying that people are lying if they read more than you do. And I mean, how outrageous would it be if I put, can you believe some people only read 3 books a month? It would be so incredibly off-putting. So that post really rubbed me the wrong way, saying, do you believe booktubers when they say they read 8 books a month? Yes, I do. Not everyone reads the same amount. So this video is here not to say you should be reading more. This video is here if you want to be reading more, or if you are just genuinely curious how I kind of read the amount that I do. And it's been a rising ceiling since starting on BookTube. I was reading more than the average person before starting BookTube, or basically I was really spurred on once I started watching BookTube. But there was a period of I think I watched BookTube for maybe about 9 months before actually starting a channel. And it's been a rising ceiling. And I think it's because, so I'll just talk about kind of what I think maybe can makes me read maybe more than your average person. So one is I always have a book with me. I never leave the house without a book. And I never leave a room without a book, basically. And each day I have kind of a stack that I keep by my bedside. Not like I'm going to read all those in bed, but I like having them there. They're a bit of a security blanket, honestly. And then I carry them with me downstairs. And so I think just always having a book with me. This December, I ended up having car trouble and I was stranded for 4 hours, and I had 2 books and my Kindle with me. And I was so glad at the end of that time that I had done that, because I was able to read a lot. I was able to finish the 2 physical books because they were very short little. One was a Christmas short story collection and one was just like a little 60-page book. And then I had my Kindle with me to read more from. So I really was so glad that I had those with me, and it just made the time pass in a way that felt productive at the end of it. I had done some reading. Okay. Then the other thing that I think makes me read more is that I read on multiple formats. So I think you can burn out if you're reading just physical or just ebook or just audiobook. I think having variety and just how you are imbibing the reading can really make you be able to read more and to want to read more. So it is a different reading experience to listen to an audiobook. It still most definitely counts as reading, no doubt about it, but it is a very different reading experience than looking at a physical book or even looking at an ebook. And so I think you can get kind of fatigue from just reading one format. And then kind of going alongside this, I read different kinds of books alongside each other, and I read multiple books at once. I think some people are kind of really scandalized by the idea of reading more than one book at once. Maybe I think some concern is that you might mix up plot points. And I think if you're reading different enough of books, then it's not really a danger that you will have. But I can see how that is a real concern. And so maybe just pick staunchly different kinds of books. So for instance, I'm thinking right now, I have George Eliot's journals that I'm reading. I also am hoping to get to 84 Charing Cross Road. I'm reading an Inspector Lindley mystery. And I also have a middle grade book, which the name escapes me right now. And then I also have All Things Wise and Wonderful on audio, along with Can You Forgive Her on audio. Those are very different reading experiences. They're going to feel very different. And I think it just keeps the curiosity going. It makes everything feel fresh and new. If you have these very different flavors, it's like you wouldn't want to sit down to a meal and have ketchup with your fries, then have slices of tomato, and then have like tomato pie, and then have a Mediterranean salad with tomatoes and onion. Like, it would just feel overwhelming. You want a lot of variety on your plate. And so the same thing, give variety to your reading plate, both in format and genre, and actually what you're reading. The next thing is, and this was extremely unintentional on my part, but I think that my reading speed has increased over time. I was not trying to race. I think I just have so many books that I'm desperate to get to that it was kind of out of necessity. Kind of like, I really want to get to this book and this book and this book, and time is limited. And I only discovered this sometime earlier this year. My husband David was showing me something on the computer. He asked me to read it, and I read it, and then I commented on it. He said, "Oh, you read that? Like, that was very quick." And I said, "Oh, I guess kind of over time, just my reading speed has increased." And then the other thing is, and this is controversial with some people, is to DNF very, very, very freely. I am extremely kind of, I guess, joie de vivre about my reading. And if something is not rewarding me, then I will not read it. Kind of just full stop. Okay, I do have, though, a different standard for modern literature as opposed to classic literature. And I have a different kind of page count threshold. So with older books, I usually will give a classic around 100 pages. Although it depends on the length of a classic. If it's going to be a 1,000-page Victorian tome, I'll give it 100 pages typically. The one thing that I did break that rule with was Man and Wife by Wilkie Collins, and I'm really glad I broke that rule. So sometimes maybe there are books that I miss out on because I didn't push through, but also since I read so much, I genuinely don't regret it. And I know that those books that I ended up DNFing and not feeling in the mood for, I can come back to them later. And there have been some books that I've set down and then tried a couple years later, and it was just the right time for them. So I don't regret DNFing books because I think sometimes it's just not the right time for a book. Now, with more modern books, I usually will give about 50 pages. And I have become, you all kind of curate the books that you keep in your library. So I kind of feel like the more books that you read, the more familiar you're going to be with what you love in books. And so as I'm reading, I've realized I've just become very quick at looking for the different things that I look for in books. So one is the writing style. Do I like the writing style? Two, does it feel personal? Because I always want to know my characters well as I'm reading it. So if the writing style is very aloof and the characters are distant, then I just know it's not going to be a book for me. Is there lots of kind of crass language in it? I don't make many exceptions for this. It's just off-putting to me. It's not like I think I shouldn't. It's just going to be not as enjoyable reading experience for me. And also very kind of petty things. One thing is I don't like it when name brands are mentioned in a book, and I can't tell you why. I think it's because it makes it very of the now, and that book is going to be very dated unless it references a brand like Dior, right? That's a very classic brand. I think it's going to be around for a long, long time. But there was one time I started a book and it referenced her Nike sneakers, and I just thought, why? It just seems like it's trying too hard. Then let's see, what else? Oh, also, is the moral stance of the author going to, or rather, are there kind of my moral compass, is it going to be affronted by this book? It's not like I have to agree with all the decisions that the characters make, but it's all in the tone. So, that's why Jude the Obscure is so hard for me, because I don't sympathize with Jude. You don't really sympathize with the characters in Wuthering Heights, but it's the kind of the tone of that book that doesn't bother me. Whereas Jude the Obscure, the tone is very, everyone is a victim. Everyone has an excuse for the terrible choices that they make. They have no accountability. And then also, sometimes you might just not be in the mood for a book. So I think really trusting your reading gut when you pick up. You're reading for you, unless you're sitting here watching this and you're a college student, then you're reading for a class. And I'm sorry if you don't enjoy the books that you have been assigned. But if you're reading for you, why not treat yourself to books that you love? And I think there's just so much fear sometimes with readers setting down a book that you aren't loving, and that somehow you're missing out. But you know what? Then another way to think of it is maybe you're missing out on another book that you would have started if you weren't just, sticking with this. Because I have found when I'm pushing myself to get through a book, then I just start avoiding reading altogether. And that is a very sad state of affairs. And you know what? At the end of the day, reading is my number one hobby. I think some people are just really kind of bothered by people reading more than them. But at the end of the day, I choose reading more than television. I do watch more television than I used to, but I choose reading more than television. And I'm ill a lot, so that is a lot of reading time. And I think also maybe some moms have trouble doing the multitasking more. I get interrupted a lot with my reading, but I've just come to terms with it and I'm okay with it. And I just get interrupted a lot. And I would rather get interrupted while reading than just not reading for all of the time of the day that my children are up. So I think that's kind of generally, I'm trying to think if there's anything that I've forgotten. I don't think there is. Yeah, so follow your reading joy. I've just found, when I was first on book 2, I was very dedicated to finishing every single book that I started. But books are not one size fits all. And I have D&F classics, and a lot of times people don't understand that, but no one can live your reading life for you except you. So I think that's everything that I had to say. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope it inspires you if you were wanting to read more. If you are happy with the amount that you are reading, then I am happy for you, and I hope that you continue to enjoy your reading in the year of 2023. Thank you as always for watching, and I will be back with another video soon. Bye.